Live from the 210 where the heat is rising and the stakes are even higher, baby. You are now locked into the most unapologetic frequency in the city. This is the Willie Bobo Show, and you're riding with the one, the only, AKS, the man, the artist, the legend, Ox the Light. We got a heavy pour for you people today because we're going to talk straight up about a crime scene in the desert. Michigan didn't just beat Arizona. They erased them from the map. We're going to break down that dominance, and we're going to look forward to the clash with UConn. This sets up to be a pretty good game. A game of physicality, a game of superior coaching, a game that should come down to the wire if cards are played correctly. But it's not all highlights and trophies, because we're going to pull back the curtain on the sideline shade too. Because Gino Auriemma is just a shell of a man when it comes down to being in the women's game coaching. He's back at it, and we've got receipts on why his disrespect toward Dawn Staley is part of a much larger, much uglier pattern for this man. And for the Real Talk segment, we're heading across the map to the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, most of you are already familiar about this. It's just one of those things, man. And I think that everybody needs to continue to talk about it, continue to shed light on it, continue to express opinions, because there's only one of two ways this is going to end, and it's either in our favor or not, good or bad. It's just an ugly situation because the world is moving on. The U.S. is getting left on the dock, and our pockets are about to feel the squeeze. So we're going to go from the hardwood to the global stage, and we're not pulling any punches as usual. So turn up the volume. Let's get into it. Iteration. It's the only word for it. Because if you saw this game, you understand that Michigan didn't just win. They dismantled an Arizona squad that many experts, including myself, thought was the deepest team in the country. And it was all about dominance. Because Michigan led by 16 at the half, 48-32, never looked back. They suffocated the Wildcats offense, holding a top 5 unit to just 36% shooting. And the surprise factor is that Arizona came in with a 36-win program record. Michigan made them look like a JV squad. Dead ass. I mean, that's really what happened. There's no other way to say it. You can't sugarcoat it because they beat them. Arizona only had 2 assists in the entire first half. How does that happen? That's unheard of for a team that talented. Here's the statement. Michigan proved that their defense is on another level, turning a Final Four matchup against a blue blood into garbage time by midway point of the second half. Then we look at UConn, Illinois. The Huskies advance, basically takes care of business against Illinois, winning 71-62, 9-point win. It wasn't a blowout that Michigan had, but Dan Hurley has his team back in the title game, looking for a 3rd trophy in just 4 years. Now you got the championship matchup, Michigan versus UConn. This is going to be a heavyweight fight, and it's going to be the type of heavyweight fight that everyone wanted. And here's how they stack up. You look at Michigan, the Wolverines, it's one of those mismatch things because UConn doesn't have the same size, right? The defense, elite perimeter pressure, forcing 9 turnovers in the first half versus Arizona, as I speak of Michigan. They're disciplined. They're long. They're great at the rim. They're great at rim protection. Michigan has higher intensity. They're offensively balanced. High efficiency scoring. 50+%, give or take, on the plus minus versus Arizona. They're relying on execution, and the experience of guys like Alex Caravan makes a difference. Even, coach peaking momentum. The currently unguardable schemes. Dan Hurley, 20-5 in the tourney, absolute postseason wizard. UConn has experience. I think Alex Caravan has to go down as one of the most decorated college players of all time, beyond question. But here's why I think Michigan might win. UConn plays a very physical, slow it down style that could disrupt Michigan's flow. Because Michigan likes to flow. They don't do a lot of half-court offense. However, Michigan is currently 6.5 favorite. So if Michigan plays with the same defensive nasty that they showed against Arizona, UConn's half-court sets might crumble. Now let's talk about the global crisis and the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to be switching gears to this, heavy topic because the situation in the Middle East has taken a dark turn for the U.S. interest. The pass system. The UK is currently leading talks with 35 countries to reopen the strait, but the United States has been explicitly excluded from the negotiations. Iran has signaled that the strait is open to friends, but remains closed to enemies, effectively placing a blockade on U.S.-flagged vessels while others pass through. Here's what this means for us. We're being isolated. While the world moves its goods, the United States is left blasting into oblivion, as the administration put it. Because we don't have a diplomatic seat left at the table. We're all witnessing the economic fallout, gas prices. We're seeing jumps of 5 to 10 cents per gallon daily. I used to think, maybe I don't like my EV, but I do now. I do now like my hybrid, saving me a lot of money. Now, the 2027 outlook is not good because experts are warning of stagflation, which is high inflation plus no growth. The war is costing us and exceeding $200 billion, and it's shipping lanes are blocked, and your wallet's going to feel it at the pump, the grocery store, for at least the next year. He stopped covering Veterans Administration loans, therefore veterans are foreclosing on their houses. Look, man, that's a wrap for today's edition of the Willie Bobo Show. We covered a lot of ground, but the message is clear. Whether it's on the court or the global stage, the game is changing, and it's changing fast. We broke down how Michigan's suffocating defense turned an Arizona squad into an absolute memory. We took a look at how Michigan versus UConn's matchup is going to be discipline versus pure momentum. And the sideline shade, we're calling out Gino for his pattern of disrespect toward elite female coaches like Dawn Staley and the great Pat Summitt. And lastly, the global squeeze. A sobering look at how the Strait of Hormuz, our isolation in the Middle East, and our economic hit is coming for the U.S. consumer. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. And if you would like to be a host on the Willie Bobo Show, please reach out to me at thewillieboboshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned, stay informed, keep it locked tight, keep it live. Peace.